and very skillful workforce that will help to upgrade the economy of this region in general, and also make our students having a better future. There's a great interaction between economic development and education, whether it's credit, non-credit, workforce development, but we are the key to train anybody who is looking for a new job or want to improve their skills. So we welcome you here, and we're going to be a very active participant in working with you to ensure development for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And up next is Mike Innes. He's our Director of Admissions here at White Mountains Community College.
Good morning, everyone. I figured I'd stand here, that way I'm not in the way of you seeing the screen as well too. So thanks for being here, and it's cooling down a little bit, right? So like Annette said, I'm the Director of Admissions. I also have the opportunity to be an adjunct professor as well. I started at White Mountains Community College with Melanie many moons ago, back in 2012. So as an adjunct professor teaching in health sciences, and I've been in admissions now for the last 9 months. So it's really nice that I know the college and I know the students, and it's really nice to hear what you're doing as well. So thank you for being here this morning. I heard a really interesting statistic the other day, especially with the trades. In the next 25 years, for every 2 people we hire in the trades, we lose 5 people. So what a huge opportunity we have here. What a really necessary component. So some of you may be familiar with the community college system in New Hampshire already, CCSNH. We are one of 7 colleges. We're the only one north of the Notch. We have 2 locations here, of course, in Berlin, and one in Littleton as well, too. We offer over 40 different programs, from 1 semester certificates to 2-year associate degrees. So we're going to highlight a few of those today, with diesel and well-being and medical assistant, but we have many more as well too, and we'd be glad to answer any questions you have on those other programs as well. We offer courses traditional in person, we offer them online as well as Zoom. So people Zooming today, very similar. And this is a kind of a program flyer to show you all the different programs that we offer. Again, like things that it might be hard to see, but in the light blue square, that's the 2-year associate's degree. And a lot of students may come here, they start this when they're in high school as well, through our early college and Running Start program. And a lot of students, that's their end goal. They come here, they get their 2-year degree, and they're good to go. Other students might start with that and then move on to another college to get their 4-year degree, to get their bachelor's. We have an excellent program with teacher education where they do 2 years with us and then 1 year with Plymouth State, and they get their 4-year degree that way. And the nice thing about that program, just to kind of let you know, is that 1 year with Plymouth State is taught at our campus. So that's really helpful for all our North Country folks you're talking about in the winter. Let's not try to drive too much. So and a lot of those courses are online as well too. So what I really like about our college that we offer is the flexibility, because like I said earlier, we have students that could be 16 years old in high school, all the way up to 60 plus. So we have a wide variety of students. And I know ages ago, when I was in college, it was always in person, right? And COVID was terrible, but it did help us with learning different modalities of teaching and to offer that. So we have our traditional in-person classes, and some courses lend itself to that, like welding, for example, or diesel. That might be kind of hard to zoom in, or like an anatomy, physiology, if we're dissecting, that might be hard to do at home. Although we did do that at home during COVID, and students quickly learn, don't dissect at the kitchen table before you serve your family dinner. Nonetheless, we have in-person classes, we have online classes as well too. So 100% online. An example of that might be nutrition or psychology. It's asynchronous. The student works 100% online. They get their assignments done every week. That's not for everyone, but it gives flexibility for people who are working and raising families, traveling. So I'm teaching nutrition this summer. I have 16 students. It's totally online, and I know a number of these students live even out of state as well too. We have So a lot of you are familiar with in-person and online courses, but a couple of other modalities that you might not be familiar with, which is somewhat new, is hybrid and high flex. Hybrid basically is a combination of in-person and online. So maybe you're in person 1 day a week, but the amount of content that you need to cover, there's so much that there's going to be some assignments later that week, like watching a lecture or doing an assignment at home. So that's kind of a hybrid. So that allows you to get the hours in that semester, whether that's an 8-week, 15-week, or like a summer 12-week semester. New, somewhat new in the last year or two, is high flex. Now, I don't know if any of you have heard of high flex. And again, it doesn't work for every type of course, but it gives you, the student, the choice. So say, for example, I'm teaching college comp, right? That's an example that we've taken to high flex. You can choose to be in person. So say it meets Fridays at 10 o'clock, 10 to 1. You can be there in person. Or you can zoom in live. Or you could choose, I'm going to work asynchronously at home, not zooming in, not being in person, and I get that assignment done. And you don't even have to let the instructor know ahead of time. So if I'm teaching college comp here, this is my class, we decided to show up in person. We have maybe a few working, zooming in with us, and then maybe we have 1 or 2 or 3 just working asynchronously at home. So again, it's not for everyone, but it gives you that modality that if you have a family, if you're working, even if you're traveling. So that's what I like about the flexibility of our classes. So high flex, again, not every course, but college comp, psychology, quantitative reasoning are some examples of that. Yes.
I mean, it's fascinating, the high flex, but how does that work for the instructor?
It's tricky because they're still, they might not know, are they gonna have a crowd of 20 live students? Or are they going to have a crowd of 18 on Zoom, but they still come in. So if I'm teaching out of the Littleton campus, for example, on Wednesdays, I still go into Littleton that day. I'm there, I have my Zoom set up. And as far as I know, it's worked. Melanie, I don't know if you have any feedback from it. College Hop, we did that last year, right? For the first time.
Right, we do it a few other courses, business administration, it does it as well. So basically, there is a whole online course. And then we have, in addition, face-to-face. So the instructor does need to put some time in to create it online and to make a version that is interactive. But for those students that need that face-to-face contact and person to ask, it's essential. Especially those introductory courses, you don't want to just, if they're not an online learner, to send online is your only option. And so this helps build camaraderie for the students between each other, for those that are face-to-face, and you have the connection to the faculty member.
I think during COVID, right? Some people thrived, some people did very well online and others did not. It's not for everyone. So what I like about the high flex, from what I know, at least anecdotally, usually there's always students. No one's ever not showing up because like Melanie said, a lot of students need that in-person component. They need that instructor time. And it's a great way for learning. So we don't, it's really limited to a number of classes. Couldn't do it with welding, couldn't do it with diesel, but business administration, accounting, some of the classes like psychology and college comp. So again, just another modality to give our students who could be balancing single parent with 3 children in the summer. Where are they going? They're out of school, they're working full time, maybe they're working 2 jobs. To give that student, so that makes sense. And we're going to get more data on that as well to see how it's working. And just like with different in-person, online, hybrid, high flex classes, different modalities, length of term. The typical fall or spring semester is 15 or 16 weeks long. So now what we're doing is we're offering some courses that are just 8 weeks, same content. So we do this with psychology, with nutrition, quantitative reasoning, for example. There are 8 weeks. You still get that 15 weeks in, or you get it in 8 weeks. And what we're finding is students who are then keeping track, say they're taking 4 classes for the semester. So spring semester is coming up, they have to take 4 classes. If they can go to the first 8 weeks and then to the next 8 weeks, they're only focusing on 2 at a time rather than balancing 4 all at the same time. So it's a little bit different than when I was at school, or a lot of us probably. But again, we're finding success with that. And what I like about it is it's allowing us to be student-centered. and work with our students' needs, whether they're 16 years old or 40 plus and balancing life jobs. Another thing that we offer our students is individualized support. I've told Melanie this for many years, like it's so nice to teach at the college, especially when I started way back, like 12 years ago. We don't let anyone slip through the cracks, you know, we have about 1,000 students altogether, if you count all our online and early college and in-person students. And we have really dedicated staff and faculty. The students aren't just a number. So, for example, we were talking about like college comp. You're not in a class of 700 where that's taught by the TA. So, from onboarding, so the process for the students is when they get accepted, they get a number of emails and congratulations. The next step is for them to make an onboarding appointment with their advisor. So it's interesting today, for example, welding has an onboarding kind of day to day, and already 3 students have come in. So it's a chance to students who've been accepted. Well, let's get them to then register for classes. So they meet with their onboarder. Their onboarder then helps them register, gets their student ID, username and password, all the logistics, get all that taken care of. So it's that much easier for them. Academic planning goes along with that. Some programs, for example, like welding or diesel, it's a cohort group just going through all together. Other programs like health science, students might be taking courses at different times. So their academic planning, their advising that they have can help them figure out when to sign up for what. Maybe they've already taken something in high school that's an early college or a running start course that they have credit for that. We offer academic support along with accessibility services. So our Student Success Center, and what I like about this, it's all free to the students. So whether it is tutoring, creating study groups together, whatever academic support that student needs, we have that. And over the last 12 years, I've seen more and more of our students taking advantage of that. And that's really nice. It's a little bit different, right? When you're in high school, that kind of has to happen, but in college, it should happen, but the student also has to advocate for themselves as well. Along with that, we have Lynn Bacon, our Director of Accessibility Services, RAPs, reasonable accommodation plans. So like in high school, if you've heard of IEPs and 504s, those don't automatically follow you to college, but they're similar where we can set up a reasonable accommodation. So whether you as a student would need extra time on a test or going to a separate room to take a test, extra time on assignments, we work with you. We can't change the curriculum, but we can accommodate your learning style and whatever needs you have for that. So all that individualized support really allows us to have high student success. We don't want to brag too much, but of all of the CCSNH system, we have the highest graduation rate. So we're doing something that's really helping these students. We get them accepted, then let's get them to come and register. And then once they're registered, let's keep them. Let's not just get them in and say, okay, you're on your own. Not too bad, you flunked out. We're gonna help you. We're gonna make sure that you're gonna be successful. Because we know if you're successful in your time here, then you're gonna be successful in our community, and basically we're helping everyone. I don't have to talk too much about this, but financial aid, that's another thing that can be tough for students is they want to come, they want to do this 1-year certificate or 2-year associate's degree, and how are they going to pay for it? So one nice thing is all high school students graduating from New Hampshire High School have to fill out the pre-application for federal student aid, the FAFSA funding. If you follow the news at all in the last 6 months, they've had some kind of, they're working with that still and leaving some students in financial limbo, but they're finding out that now what they qualify for. So with financial aid, any student who's been accepted to our school, we get them to fill out the FAFSA. They get the results from the FAFSA, and it opens them up to all types of money out there, whether it's federal money, and it's like a Pell Grant, or scholarships. On our website, we have a site called Award Spring, which a student can go to see all the different types of scholarships and money and grants that are out there. Sort of like a one-stop shopping. And so many students, I'd say over 65% of our students who are in our programs qualify for some type of financial aid. So it's a necessary component. I was talking to a student yesterday who's going to be in the diesel program this fall. And he doesn't have a lot of support at home. And his company who he works for is so adamant on making sure he goes to college that whatever financial aid that is covered federally, whatever's left over, they're going to help pay as well too. So that's really nice to see that. So he's actually going to be taking some courses this summer as well too. The Promise program is something that's in our state of New Hampshire that allows for students who are Pell eligible, if they've used up all their other financial aid and there's still money left over and they've used all any supplementary grants and scholarships, then that money is picked up. So say there's a difference of $600-700, the Promise program pays for that and the student doesn't have to pay that back. So again, another chance for students who financial issues can be a barrier to coming to school. We help them find money. This summer, we have Summers on Us, which students can take up to 2 free courses as long as you're registered for the fall term for 9 credits at least, and they're Pell eligible. So we always like to encourage our students, don't be discouraged by that financial component, because even though at $215 a credit hour, we're 1/3 of the cost of like a UNH or on the state, it's still expensive, isn't it? I think to spend, $20,000, even though it's going to be a great payoff. So we help students with that. It's nice to know that there's money out there. And just to highlight, we were talking earlier about different programs. These programs are ones that are 100% online. You could argue maybe 1 or 2 of these, they meet 1 day for the semester. Well, for the most part, they're all online. So that's great. That draws in our catchment area a little bit bigger. And what I like is it gives students more of an opportunity to balance real life of what's going on. So again, we're going to talk a little bit more about medical assistant, welding, diesel. But if you have questions on any of our programs, we'd be glad to answer that. So that's a kind of a quick overview about who we are, how our classes are designed, the support that we offer, the financial aid that's out there. Before we move on, I don't know if anyone had any questions. I don't know if we can have online questions as well.
Sure. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I remember a couple of years ago, there was a program, I think it was called a class gift or something along those lines, where every graduate got either a free class or free credit or something along those lines. Am I right in remembering that? And if so, do you have any sense of what the uptake was across the system? Like how many kids actually took advantage of that?
I may have to defer.
I know that there was a program for any valedictorian or women's colleges that they would receive that.
Okay.
And there are a number of students that have taken advantage of it. Sometimes why they don't have that.
And one nice thing, what we're doing now with something like that, we're starting to chart that even better through a CRM platform called CardX. And anyway, we can kind of get that data out because it's very interesting to know. Advantage of that, like the Summers on Us. The catch is we want them to be registered for 9 credits for the fall, so that will increase our fall. Other questions?
But with I just want to really emphasize that Promise program is that if you are Pell eligible, you can come to school on the federal money and the state money. So really for your medium to lower income individuals, education is obtainable. And there is a lot of scholarship money out there, so good promise. And a little bit more on Summer on Us, if you are completing a certificate completely in the summer, or if you are completing an associate degree or certificate in the summer, those courses are also eligible.
So think of our like CDT.
Right, we have a
Commercial
driver training,
class.
only 1 semester in the
Right.
summer, and they too can receive that extra money.
So it's nice to get that word out to prospective students of all ages, whether they're graduating high school. For Summers on Us, they do have to get a graduate, or like, again, a lot of our students, adults, balancing careers, balancing life, balancing, trying to make it in the world, so. Thank you. Other questions?
I might have missed it, but overall, how many students, are you dealing with here, both online and in person?
Yeah, if you kind of look at the stat, like about 1,000, and that would be like kind of like 1,000 served, whether it's in person, online, our early college running start. Which are the high school students taking, so what we like to say around 1,000. So I'll go right into, so just we're gonna highlight a few of our programs, so just to kind of start with, medical assistant program, so Karen Edwards is the program chair for that, she wasn't able to be here. But as an adjunct professor, I also teach a lot of the health sciences, so I'm a little bit familiar with the MA program, such a need is in there in the community for this. So I get to teach a lot of the students like anatomy, physiology, or human bio that might be taking. So to give you a little bit overview for the MA program, there is basically 2 avenues you can do this. One is 2 semesters, and it's called the apprenticeship opportunity. So the students are doing an internship at a healthcare facility. So they're working, getting paid during their internship, receiving credit for prior learning. And then at the same time, in the fall and spring semester, they're taking courses. So if they take this avenue for their MA program, they basically get it done in 2 semesters, but they're sort of working at the same time. Otherwise, they can do 3 semesters, which also involves a clinical as well too, but that would be fall, spring, and summer. So that would be a full year. So they still get that same MA certificate, but 2 opportunities. So one that they're already working, a lot of our students may be working at Littleton Hospital, for example. So as we talked about earlier, there's such a need for all types of trades, right? So MAs are among the fastest growing occupations in our country, especially up here in the North Country. So it's a really viable program to take. You're going to be employed if you're not already employed. They want us to give them more students. They're like, please, we need more. So the healthcare industry is growing rapidly. When you look at kind of future cast, like we talked about earlier, for every 2 hired, 5 are leaving in the trade. So there is going to be a huge need for medical assistants. We have an increasing aging population, the medical technology, we need to train professionals. And it's a career pathway as well too. Some students, they know, okay, their end goal is to get into nursing. They want to get that RN, but they're not ready yet right away to go right for the RN program. So it's nice stepping stones. They might have an LNA already that they have from a CTE in high school. And they come to us, they get their MA certificate. That's a good pathway to go to become a LPN, licensed practical nurse, which we have a program taught at the Littleton campus, but it's through River Valley Community College. Again, sort of like Plymouth State teaching that last year for our teacher education. It's awesome for students who live up and don't want to drive all the way down to Claremont. So a lot of students will get their MA, go on to LPN, and then eventually become RN. I have a student who's been an excellent student over the years who needed this pathway. I remember she was a student of mine in human biology, AP1, AP2, and she probably could have gone right for the RN, but she was balancing life. She needed to take some stepping stones. So she kind of went MA, going to LPN, and then eventually, in a few years, RN. So that's a nice stepping stone for people. Like we were saying earlier, our program, it's all student-centered. We give quality education. I mean, there's certainly other places you can go, students can go to get their MA. They can also do internships, and a lot of healthcare hospitals and industry are trying to kind of steal away, and they need workers. But we're going to give them a very quality education. And what I like about our program in the Littleton campus, and if anyone ever wants to come to the Littleton campus to have a tour, we'd be glad to arrange that. But when you walk in to where the MA program is taught, it's a lab, so it's like experiential learning. You walk right in, and it's like you're in the doctor's office, but it feels like it's not too scary. So you walk in, there's like a welcome center desk with administrative assistant would be, and then there's the different like rooms that you go in, and so it's just like being in that healthcare facility. So it offers for experiential learning, and the small class sizes. Melanie might know a little more off the top, but I'm thinking it's less than 15, right?
Well, we're
Probably
at
MA.
8 in a clinical, but I think last year we graduated 23 and which was really good.
So again, it's that small class size, we're going to work with students, we put them first, we're gonna make sure they succeed. And then again, just like we'll hear from welding, we'll hear from diesel. When you graduate from programs, these programs, the only reason you don't have a job is if you choose not to have a job. You'll actually be courted by several different industry partners for that job. So job placement and our board certified exam at that 85% is wonderful. So that attests to that quality of education you're getting in our medical assistant program. That's a little bit of an overview, I believe, in the MA program. Before we move to the next one, does anyone have any general questions on that? I also printed out some program flyers, which list a little blurb about the program and all the courses that the students will take, as well as the estimated costs. And again, we have 40 different programs, so I printed out the ones that we're talking about today. I have them up there. Feel free to grab a few if you like. Great. So next we are going to go with. Welding. Speed up. And this is Kyle.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Kyle Lovett. I'm the program coordinator of the advanced welding program. I'm here more or less to talk about the accredited testing facility that's new to our program and what that means for us, not only with the program itself, but for workforce development, things like that, and how it can help our community. So a little bit about our program. We are a 1-year certificate program. It's actually 2 certificates that you get within 1 year. We run fall and spring. That would be our structural welding program. And then upon graduation, that week of graduation, students start our summer semester in pipe welding. So we're on weeks, we just wrapped up week 7, so almost done that. That nice hot day we had yesterday, we had students working outside, so it's great. I didn't make them work outside, they wanted to, but no, it was fun. Brought out a case of water for them, we took breaks and all that stuff, but it's a fun class. I'm a graduate of the program myself. I graduated in 2011 and I've been kicking around the school ever since then. Both on the advisory committee for welding and as an adjunct instructor now full-time. This is my first year full-time with welding. I taught previously through the Northern Borders Regional Grant, I believe is what it's called, with the millwrights program that we had here for a short time. And this ATF, accredited testing facility from the American Welding Society, which is nationally recognized, more on a local scale than national, to be honest, which is pretty awesome, was made possible by the Northern Borders Grant, so huge shout out to them. There's an insane cost that comes with starting a facility up like this, so that was really nice to have. We are the only one in New Hampshire and the only one in New Hampshire and Vermont, and pretty soon we might be the only one in New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine, from what I'm hearing, so that's pretty good for the Northeast for us. We just started testing our students through this. Again, there was no rise in tuition to them. And benefit of this is, I mean, if you guys don't know anything about welding, who's heard of a certified welder before? Yeah, you've heard of a certified, someone's always heard of a certified welder. That used to be just a piece of paper. And what's nice about a piece of paper is it's easy to make copies and, maybe change things around. So how honest is it? That's up to you, right? With this program, the accredited testing facility, we have to enter everything in an online database through the American Welding Society. With that, we also get audited often, very often. So if I enter anything wrong, I'm a certified welding inspector, they will pull my credentials. So we have to be very accurate, we have to keep records, document everything, we keep the actual physical specimens for a certain amount of time. So it's pretty intense. The welder will then get a welder's license, what I call it. It's a welder's card, wallet card. It has all their credentials listed on that card. And by the way, I talk fast, so if there's any questions, please interrupt me. They keep record of this on the online website as well. And that person is now searchable. So we've had, I don't know how many people we've tested off the top of my head. I want to say we are upwards of 40 tests so far. So that's pretty awesome that have gone through this. And we haven't even advertised for this yet, because it's a lot of work. And we don't want to overwhelm ourselves with it.
Do they have to maintain it over the course of their career, like?
Yes, they do. That's a great question. So with this welder's testing card that they get, they have to maintain it every 6 months. It's a $30 fee. They go directly to AWS with that. We don't set the fees. They can come here, we'll help them out with it by all means. But they have to document what they've done, what processes they've welded with. And there's literally a test for every process, every steel, on and on and on. So,
Do they actually have to retest during the recertification process?
so if they maintain a certification, let's say I'm certified in shielded metal arc welding, stick welding. If I don't weld within that 6 months span, if I don't use that process, I have to be certified.
Okay.
If I keep using that process, document it, do my $30 maintenance fee or $35 maintenance fee, forget which one it is. It's gonna definitely.
Okay.
So
Pretty rigorous.
it is, it's very rigorous because, you heard stat about, tradespeople, 2 come in, 5 retire, right? With welding, when I started back in 2010 welding, the stat was there's gonna be like 35,000 welders short by the year 2012. Now, we're at 360,000 welders short by the year 2026. So they want skilled welders out there. That's why the AWS is pretty hard on this.
Do employers help with that though? I mean, it would seem to benefit them to have a staff.
Oh, of course they do.
It, so they.
Of course,
they
so-
probably help with the $30 and all that.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
hands down. Which is great, it takes bearing off the welder, obviously, but we have employers. I actually worked with a local employer, right down the street here at Berlin Foundry. They had a weld job they had to do. They needed a certified welder to do it. Okay, well, what's the certification has to be, so on and so forth. So we searched it all up for them and we got them the right answers they needed. And now they're gonna be doing the test with us. So they can have that job, which is awesome. And that's just one of the benefits to our program at the college itself. This is open to anyone, this is open to the public, so we're starting to do test days once a month for the public. Our students will take tests separately, and it will go through the accredited testing facility as well. So out of our students, all of them have their welder card if they pass their tests, which I forget the percentage rate, but I want to say we're about 85% pass rate on the tests, which is amazing. So we're really proud of that. But with that, like I said, our students used to get a piece of paper, now they get this. Makes them more marketable. People can look them up now, so companies can look them up and say, hey, yeah, this person is certified, this works for us. A lot of companies won't weld test the student now as they come in the door. 9 times out of 10, you get a welding job, the first thing you do on your interview or after your interview is you have to take a practical weld test. They want to see you weld. I mean, I know I would, right? So this is gonna forego a lot of that for our students. Along with that, you saw the job placement stats on MA. I'm very happy to say that there's 1 student out of 13 we have that has not made a decision. Not that he's not employed yet, but has not made a decision on where he wants to go work. So 7 of them had jobs this past April already with Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. They're our biggest hiring company. We work with 36 different companies that kind of dictate how our program runs. They're on our advisory board and they hire our students. So if they say, hey, we need this process taught more, we need work on this position, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna change on the fly and make it happen. So the shipyard hired 7 of our students. They wanted to hire the whole class, but not everyone wants to work in the shipyard, which is cool, whatever. But what does that do for our local economy, right? That's taking people out of the North Country and bringing them down there. It can, but I know for myself, John Mullins, the other instructor, he's the department chair, and Mike Pike, the other instructor, we all stay local. We all work local, and I'm obviously staying local still. There are local companies we work with that pay very good money. Capone Iron, Presley Steel, the foundry I just mentioned, Alpine Machine, Cross Machine, so. Rotobeck's another one, yes. Yeah, Rotobeck's actually a pretty large hiring partner of us. Both in Groveton and Littleton, which is nice. So, it's really awesome, but like I said, Portsmouth is the biggest hiring company for us. Just because we do get a lot of students from that area, because we have a pretty sweet deal with the shipyard. Normally, like if I would come off the street out of high school and go if I wanted to be a welder at the shipyard, I'd have to take a weld test to get in, just like any other place. I would start off in their apprenticeship program at about $25 an hour and some change, which is good money. I get my benefits after 90 days. And things work out, right? Well, out of our program, because of our 1,500 hours of put time. What happens is the shipyard looks at that and says, okay, you got extra experience. They actually send a group of people up here to hire our students. They don't have to leave the facility, which is awesome. Pretty cool. And they start out at $29 an hour, some change, $8,000 sign-on bonus, full benefits from day one. So it helps with the relocation part too, for the students that are.
And when you're a substantial organization like the shipyard.
Yeah.
You can do those things,
Exactly.
and smaller businesses can't do those.
And smaller businesses can't. And
The way it is.
it is the way it is, unfortunately, but like I said, not everyone wants to go there. And we don't steer people one direction or the other.
And it isn't unfortunate necessarily. I mean,
Oh.
you know, the shipyard has provided for many years, stable employment and career-long employment for many, many people.
They can work for the next 45 years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And
So it isn't necessarily a bad thing.
no, it's not a bad thing.
But
I mean, personally, I love this area. I want to see people stay around this area. You know, who doesn't? That's just me. So yeah, we do work with the local companies quite often and they've been great to us and we're great to them as much as we can, you know?
From how far away do the companies come? I know on the radio at home, I live in the Plymouth area, you hear ads from Bath Ironworks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do they, how far do people come to recruit?
We've had people as far as Groton, Connecticut. We just had a company yesterday from Portland, Maine, Phoenix Welding. They specialize in petroleum piping kind of thing, so different welding code API 1104. Anyways, they travel as far south as Tampa, Florida to work. And, you know, it's pretty awesome stuff. We do have students that travel the country. There's opportunity for students to even travel the world with another local organization, the Millwrights Union. What's nice about those traveling companies like the Phoenix, the Millwrights, so on and so forth, or the other union companies we work with, is we find that the students stay local. And they just travel from here, go to work for a month or two, and come back for a month or two. We have one student that graduated after his first full year of work upon graduation. He made over $140,000 working with the Millwrights. And most of that money was spent right here because he lives here. So it's pretty incredible, you know, that's an opportunity as well.
It sounds like you're getting the word out, but companies are gonna find out about this if they're coming, you know, from Groton, Connecticut. What about the students? What efforts are, I mean,
That's the hard part.
yeah,
So unfortunately, COVID took a huge hit on us, especially the welding program. Before COVID, we have 36 welding booths. We housed 43 students at one time. They ran 2 shifts of welding classes to make that happen. We don't want to turn anyone away ever. There's so much opportunity, and that's the biggest thing we talk about is opportunity to our students. Good careers, great benefits, you know, stable income. You don't have to worry and live paycheck to paycheck. That's horrible. We don't want that for our students. So we don't turn anyone away. The problem with COVID, everything changed, right? We had our lowest class this year. I said 13 students in pipe welding. That's the lowest class they've had since I came through back in 2001. So we're struggling with getting enrollment, and we're seeing it out in the workforce too. The company that just came in yesterday, they're actually a small outfit that travels to Florida. I mean, it's crazy, right? They're a small outfit and they're like, we need 15 more welders. You know, we're hearing it all the time. They need more, they need more, they need more. So that's the hard part, is trying to get that to translate to the students or our target audience and say, hey, we need you guys. You gotta come here, learn from us, go to work. It's tough.
is there a connection between the high schools and the tech school, high schools and those types of things?
I'm actually glad you brought that up because I did want to mention something about that. I'm just gonna go to that's what our welding booths look like, if you want to look at that while I talk. So the connection with high schools and stuff, we have, I want to say, 4 articulation agreements with different high schools. Obviously, Berlin High School has an awesome welding program. I graduated from there. Can't talk enough about it. And with our articulation program, articulation agreement we have with them, we also do early college. We've done that with one student this past year, and I think he's coming back next year to do some more classes. So he was able to take a full day off from school, come here and take his classes, which is cool. Whenever we do this articulation agreement or credit for prior learning, what we're gonna do is, a lot of times, if you look at our program app, safety's on that list quite often. Once a semester, we do a safety class. So like every semester, you're taking a safety class with it. If that student gets the articulation agreement where safety's covered, they don't pay for the class, but they still sit in it because safety is important to us, right? This is a dangerous trade. Every trade is dangerous. But we want to make sure we're having safe workers go out in the workforce. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, there is articulation agreements out there. So that helps for sure for high school students coming in. We're going to be trying something new with the early college avenue this year. We have a math for welders class, and there's a high school out of Vermont that wants to partner with us for this early college program. They unfortunately don't have an instructor that can teach it with the credentials, so we're gonna try to Zoom it with them. So hopefully that boosts their enrollment and our enrollment, you know, that's the goal of anyways. I did mention safety. I'm assuming everyone's heard of OSHA before. Okay, good, I'm glad I can safely say that here. So a lot of companies want, you know, employees to have an OSHA 10, right? Well, we will have our students go an OSHA 30 in the summer. So the last week of class, they sit in the classroom with me and we do our OSHA 30 for a week. So our students graduate with an OSHA 30 in construction, which is a huge benefit as well. So really our students graduate with 8 welding certifications, up to 8 welding certifications. Obviously, they have to pass those to get them. The OSHA 30, and then, of course, the 2 college certificates, the Advanced Welding Program certificate and the Pipe Welding certificate. Any questions?
Is that program done, that's here at this campus?
It's all here at this campus, yes.
Not in.
We will.
We do have a satellite. We have a satellite.
Like,
Yeah, we are in Wilton.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, before when I was with the Modex program, when I was, you know, out working for another company, I was working with like, it was the former Annette on workforce development side of things.
camera.
Yeah, exactly, Tamara. I was doing all kinds of OSHA classes for her and things like that, and you know, I like that stuff personally. It's nice to go out and meet people, and do that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we'll definitely run some OSHA classes out there. Within the college, we have the ability to teach the OSHA construction and the OSHA general industry. My counterpart, John Mullins, actually is the general industry guy. So we try to make those interactive classes. Still, we know that can be boring, right? But we try to make them as interactive as possible. So it's fun.
This file. So the main welding lab is here in Berlin, but there, within the new advanced technology building in Littleton, there are 10 welding booths as well. Welding is a portion of the diesel program, and so there is possibility of doing additional welding.
Of course.
Welding's part of it.
Yes, it is.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll tell a lot more about that.
Yeah.
All right.
I will say the welding shop that we have here is extremely similar. So what you see, we have 36 multi-process welding booths. What that means is students can stay in that one booth for every process they're going to weld with, depending on the semester, right? So MIG welding, stick welding, TIG welding, flux core, all that stuff right in one booth. There's no tanks in their booth, it's all manifolded in with copper lines. They just turn a valve on, set the machine and go, which is pretty awesome. And it's the same setup in Littleton, which is great as well. They're Miller XMT 350s. We have a couple Lincoln 300C power waves. I do a lot about the machinery we have because it's just awesome to me. I'm kind of nerded out by all that stuff, but I don't want to bore you. So now we're talking about equipment and loosen up.
I was gonna say, you're pretty into this. You're pretty
Yes.
young at it, yeah.
Yes, I love this stuff. So
Like it's a.
How about the future? We hear about AI and robotics and
Yep.
its impact on everything. So how about welding?
so
What
welding
do you
is
see coming over the horizon?
So what we see coming over the horizon with the AI stuff, not so much yet. That hasn't hit the welding side of it too much yet. But the robotic side has. Actually, Mark and I were just talking about, you know, plasma cutting, this and that, how robotics do it now. Not just on a burn table, but you know, he's telling me about this other system where it's like, hey, you just draw some out traces and cuts. Like, that's cool. I want one. We'll work on that, really. No, it is awesome. So technology is definitely out there. We hosted a professional development day. There's not a lot going on for these high school welding instructors to get professional development. So what we did is we hosted a day where we brought as many as we could from Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and we had a day where they could come in, check our facility out, and learn some stuff from some industry partners that we have. So like Ready Arc, they're a welding supply company, but they also do equipment rentals. We had them bring in what's called an orbital welder. It's mainly for pipe welding, and it's a gas tungsten arc welding process. So TIG. What you do is you look at a camera, you set the machine, you hit go, and it welds it for you. So this is for hard to reach places, things like that. typically it's gonna be your high purity stuff, so. Think about pharmaceuticals, food processing, things like that. So that's definitely out there. As far as the robotics side of it. Along with that, there's some technology called cobots, I believe is what it's called. And that's like a portable welding arm. You set it, you still need a welder to set it, which is awesome for us, right? That's where AI is probably gonna come in, take that over. But you still need someone to program this stuff and know what they're looking at, right? So that's going on as well. You know, and eventually we're definitely gonna go that route as we need to, as the industry asks us to.
So it's kind of a different skill set, though. I mean.
It is.
Doing the welding or doing the programming for the welding. I
Exactly.
mean, obviously, if you understand the welding, it's gonna give you a leg up in doing the programming, but that's a different skill set.
It is a different skill set, so you have to have that, you know, not every person. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a STEM teacher. Crazy, I know. Now I'm a welding teacher, but. I want to do the hands-on stuff. I wasn't thinking like further ahead, like, oh, I program stuff to do it for me, that's cool, you know? We're gonna get that mix of students in, and there's always going to be a need for an actual welder, someone to go physically run the beads. I just talked to the student this morning that we onboarded. His background is in IT, so that's definitely an avenue for this person to go. And, you know, companies like Roadvet, they do a lot of robotic welding. They really do, so that's gonna be a good place for him. He lives in Lancaster, he wants to stay local, perfect. So I'm sure he'll be pretty marketable for that. Any other questions?
For your student, be certified for structural steel?
Our students, so I'm glad you asked about that, because I mentioned certifications, I didn't talk about it yet, I'm horrible for that. So yes, our students in the spring semester, we run 4 certifications for our students, 4 different tests. They do a 1-inch thick, I should have brought some weldments with me, a 1-inch thick plate with a backing bar in the vertical position, lower overhead position. Should they pass both, that qualifies them for all position welding on structural steel, unlimited thickness. We use different codes for this. We use the AWS D15, where most other places are gonna test to a D11 code. D11 is your basic structural steel. D15 is your bridge welding. So if you want to go work for, you know, if you want to go do a job in Massachusetts on a welding job, you need that D15 code test. So that bridge test supersedes all things D11, which is great. So our students have that upper hand on that. The difference in the test, it's literally the same test plate, same process. They do it in flux core and stick welding. The difference is you can't use a grinder, and the mechanical testing is a little bit more, I guess, tighter tolerance. So like I can have up to 3/8 of imperfections in the weld bends on the D11. D15 I can only have a 1/4 inch max, so it's a little bit tighter. So yeah, our students get that. In the summer, they get 2 additional tests that are pipe tests. One is a 6-inch schedule 80 pipe with a 6010 over 7018, it's all stick welded. And that's fixed in a 45-degree angle. They have to work around it. They can't move it one way or the other, they can't roll it, they have to weld around it. We do a 4-inch schedule 80 pipe with a TIG welded root, TIG welded hot, stick welded out, that combo test, and that is again 6G, which is 45-degree angle fixed. If they pass all those, that's what's covered in their tuition. The additional 2 tests is what we give them, and that's called a 2-inch monster test. A monster is just a really thick piece of pipe that they have to do the same processes in those positions as well. So that's like every welder's goal is to get that test done. So
Thanks.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions?
What's the math requirement for a welder?
So math requirements are more or less like fractions, decimals, things like that. We go through all the basics. How do you read a tape measure? You would be surprised the amount of people that can't read a tape measure that come into a program like this. Mark sees it all the time. But guess what? That's what we're here for. We understand that students need to start somewhere, you know? So we go over that stuff. How do you read a tape measure? How do you go from decimal to fraction? How do you go from inches to metric? There's a lot of metric stuff out there now for us. It's coming. So we stay on top of that stuff. Simple addition and subtraction. Typically, if you're an A student in high school math, algebra, or trigonometry, because there is a lot of trigonometry with this too, you're gonna do okay with our math class. All the classes that we teach in the welding program are taught by people that have welded. You know, Mike, he's 72 years old, he's kind of the person that started this whole program up. And he's been welding in the paper mill, the pulp mill actually for, I think he had 30 years in there. Don, same thing, 30 years in the pulp mill. I worked in the paper mill, you know, John worked in a steel fabrication shop, so we've all got welding experience, and that's pretty awesome that we all get to teach these classes for our cohort. We get to know students really well, which helps too.
Thank you.
Thank you guys,
Thank you.
appreciate the time.
All right, so in the end of time, I'm going to go through my slides pretty quickly because you all hear from me every other month when I attend the meetings. So, but I did want to touch on a couple of points about workforce development. Just the investment in the workforce. When you think about workforce development as it sits in the college, we're also called the Business Training Center. So our partners look a little bit different. We are non-credit. So we're offering kind of a different array of opportunities for people to get training. But we look at ourselves as really a pathway. A partner for businesses, certainly because we're looking to always expand the workforce and prepare people with the necessary skills, upskill, remove any of the barriers that they may have to education. Also, just I think in terms of career advancement and opportunities, when we look at the population in the region up here, we're an aging population, certainly we want to look at building the talent pipeline, but also keeping the people that are here employed and keeping the economy going strong. So we partner with a lot of different people, including our partners here who are in the credit world, but also outside partners in the community, corrections programs. We have some great programs there. With industry partners as well, and of course, high schools and four-year colleges, because we're sort of like in between what people might be doing when they go to high school and when they leave the college setting to go into a four-year college. So the area that we serve, which I think everybody sort of touched on this, and it's very similar to what CEDS is serving as well, is all of Grafton County, all of Coos County, and then like the northern part of Grafton and Carroll County. And when you look at where that line is, I mean, it is geographically the largest footprint in the state, comparing us to the other 6 colleges in the community college system, but of course, the most sparsely populated. But we have different challenges, even though we cover a very large area. We have 2 campuses, but it's the most impoverished area. We have the lowest completion rates of high school in the area. It's the oldest population in the North Country. So when you think about things like challenges like technology, it looks a little bit different here than it might down closer to the Massachusetts border. So our customized trainings are really valuable in workforce development for that reason. And I'll talk about that in just a moment too. So what we do, in workforce development, we have a lot of different programs that we can offer. Some of them are very structured. So we have programs such as that are driven by state and federal regulation like CDL or LNA, MNA. Any of those courses that are offered are driven by usually a state board or a federal regulatory committee. But we also do some customized trainings, which I mean, those can vary from anything from soft skills to Microsoft Office training. They can be very much customized, and it can be when an employer meets with us and says, my employees already know this part, but they need something else. And again, when we talk about an aging population, a lot of times the economy is going in a direction where technology is certainly changing everything. And a lot of employers just, their employees need some upskilling. So we certainly can customize our trainings for that, where we just focus on specifically what that employer's needs are and why it matters. For many reasons. It's to be a good partner, and we are a community college, so we always are looking at improving access for everybody. And a lot of times this is the pathway, and this is where it starts. It starts in a non-credit setting. It's kind of an opportunity for somebody to try a program like an LNA program where they're working in a healthcare setting and they kind of get interested and they're not maybe confident about going right into nursing. They start working and getting some clinical hours and getting some experience. They increase their pay when they get the training. And it helps them as they move into a pathway such as medical assistant or LPN or RN. But when we look at our role here at the community college, and I think the greatest benefit that we see in workforce development is investing in human capital. Because when you invest in things like trainings that help people learn how to problem solve or how to you increase knowledge in science and technology, you start to see things change a little bit in the local economy. You get more people participating in the workforce. You get people who are a little bit more innovative when they've had those skills and they've had trainings, they become more innovative, and it helps with things like well-being of the workforce overall, more equality in the workforce. And in turn, what that does for our local economy is it expands our economy, it grows our economy, it creates more stability. So overall, improving that human capital, it can start right in those non-credit courses in workforce development, and it's very important to our region. So I am gonna hand it over to Mark Pouliot. He's gonna talk specifically, this is one of the programs we wanted to highlight. Mark's been off this summer, so I'm really happy that he can join us today to talk a little bit about the diesel program.
Thank you. Again, my name is Mark Pouliot. I am the program coordinator for the diesel heavy equipment program. This program is based out of Littleton. Okay, the Advanced Technology Building is where the program takes place. And we are accredited. The Associated Equipment Distributors is the third-party organization that verifies we are teaching what industry requires for the current technology. Okay. With that, our program, when you hear diesel heavy equipment, maybe you think excavators or farm tractors or over-the-road trucks. Well, the field is much larger than that, and we do not differentiate between either one. A diesel engine is a diesel engine. It doesn't matter if it's in a cargo ship or your grandfather's Kubota. They function the same way. Okay, so we talk about the commonalities of the systems and the functions, so then the student is able to get a job or a career path in whichever genre they feel most comfortable with. Okay, we go over service and repair procedures, basic diagnostics. Very computer heavy now. Just like your vehicle you took to get here has probably 15 or 20 computers in it. Excavators and over-the-road trucks are the same way. 20 to 30 computers in those pieces of equipment. Tool usage. There's a lot of tools that are general, that most people are like a hammer, they know how to use that. But there are some higher end tools like a dial bore gauge, which is measuring in half thousandths that we have to teach them how to use. Again, goes into the measurement that Kyle talked about. You know, before I can teach them to measure in thousandths, I can teach them to read a measuring tape. And workplace safety. How to work cleanly, organized, identify hazards, things of that nature. Because our new facility has a overhead 5-ton bridge crane, we now teach them basic rigging and safety and how to use the material that they're going to use out in the field to understand that and why is it so important. So we go through all of that. We have not implemented the OSHA 30 or OSHA 10 connection with our program. If industry partners say that's something they want, we will certainly bring that into it. I have had students that wanted to take it, and when it lined up, we set them up for it, obviously. But we do talk about OSHA, the standards and the options that are out there. We also talk about a branch that's a little bit different called MSHA, which is the mining side of it, which is open pits, gravel pits, safety precautions for that. If you don't have an MSHA card, you're in Massachusetts and you're working in a gravel pit and they show up, you're in trouble. Right, and they do spot checks, so make sure they're aware of that stuff. And integral to my program, I do a forklift training, a fork truck training section. In this field, you're at some point going to be using a forklift to either unload the parts or bring the parts out because they're too heavy for you to carry. And I put that in the hands of my students anyway, because they will use the fork truck in class. We've gotten deliveries where, hey, take the forklift and go unload the FedEx truck that just showed up, and the students will go do that. Plus I have them move stuff around in the classroom so they get involved. A lot of times they're like, why are we doing this? Well, because you're gonna be using it, and I wanna make sure you're capable of running it. So with that, we cover a lot of different areas. And we offer 2 programs. Our first program is the certificate program, which is 1 year. So they start in the fall, they graduate in the spring. Our accrediting body offers a certification test. Okay, so in the spring of the graduating year, the student will take this test, they have 2 chances to pass it. Okay, some do really well on it. Some don't feel they're gonna need it, you know, it's just one of those things. We push them and do everything we can to help them pass that test. It's a standardized credential, so it's something else they can bring into their field. Now, a little bit different from that is the EPA 609 test. That is the air conditioning and HVAC for industry. Now, everybody's probably been to Walmart and saw the 134A that they buy off the shelf and they can plug in and fix their AC. Right, that's about the only place that can do that. In the field, for you to grab an AC machine and go to start working on a truck to recharge. Or a bulldozer or an excavator to recharge the HVAC, you have to be licensed by the EPA. To go to the parts store to purchase the Freon to charge the system, you have to show your credential to be able to purchase it, and they won't sell it to you. Okay. So in our chassis class, which covers HVAC, we go through this and then they take the 609 test, which is open book, open note, and untimed. So they should all pass it. And it's a one-time thing, it stays with you for life. It just, they want you to understand the safety and the environmental impacts behind it, because AC has changed a lot. Right, we've got that new 1234 YF, which is really great, breaks down quick in the atmosphere, unlike R12 that hangs around for 100 years. Okay, so they need to be aware of that. And if you're going to work for somebody who already have that, then they don't have to worry about sending you, you already have that credential. You already understand how the system works. We also have the 2-year associate's degree. Okay, and that is a little more robust because it's 5 semesters. Okay, so here are the common classes they would be taking. They cover electrical systems, hydraulic systems, and diesel power internal component systems. Everything in purple would be a gen ed that the student would typically take. So you have your fall and your spring and your freshman year. You have your fall and your spring of your senior year. This is where, obviously it's a degree, so it carries more weight than the certificate, but there are also more hydraulic classes. You actually end up with 3 hydraulic classes and 3 electrical classes, as opposed to 1 of each. Not that we treat the students every different, but there's only so much time in 2 semesters, right? They also take the AED certification and the EPA 609 as well. Both certificate and degree take the intro to arc welding and cutting. Okay, which is why we have our 10 booth facility in Littleton. So that way the students don't have to drive to Berlin, all their classes are in one place. Their gen eds are in Littleton, their diesel classes are in Littleton, their welding's in Littleton. And actually Kyle's nice enough, he comes down and actually teaches the class for me. So. Because of that, we run 2 sections, because I'm on average 20 to 22 students in my program. Okay, so we end up running 2 sections. Because there's only 10 booths. Now with that, it's been kind of interesting, because Kyle's had some students that did the whole welding gamut and then came and did my program. And back when we had it, did the millwright program. Right, and they walked away with a bag full of credentials, that's what they chose to do. I had a student that graduated from the program with a degree, went to welding, and she's at the Naval Shipyard, right?
Yeah, because he's at the shipyard.
He's at the shipyard, and she's doing great, but now she has that base knowledge of a broader field that, yeah, she's welding out, but she can go anywhere with it, right? It creates a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of crossover between them. And the reason we do welding is if you end up being a field technician You're driving out into a sand pit and you've got to remove a stuck pin on a boom cylinder. You're gonna have to weld something to it to be able to press it out. So it is basic, it is introductory, it gets their feet wet in it. If they want more, we offer more classes to get them. More familiar with it. So the 5th semester. That's the summer between the 1st and 2nd year, that is the summer co-op. Now, whether they're a degree student or a certificate student, a lot of times I forget who's who. In the spring semester, I bring in industry partners. On a regular basis, usually 2 a week, that talk about what they have to offer for full-time jobs, co-op positions, what are their benefits? You know, what's it like to work for them? But for the summer co-op, the students are required to work in the field for 400 hours. It's relatively simple. Show up to work, do your job, don't get fired, right? And, you know, you get a college credit for it. And there's a few assignments that go along with that. In most cases, the students are offered a position to continue working on the days we don't have class. And then when they graduate, they offer them a position if they so choose to go work there. Okay. And now some will do their internship at one place and end up working somewhere else or vice versa. If they are a certificate student, I help put the options in front of them. I help them navigate the process. I still help them get a job. Right, and like Mike said earlier, if they do not get a job in the field, it's because they chose to do something else. I think I'm at the point now, I have 7 or 8 students that are working at Milton Cat and Londonderry. And it's all as a direct result of the summer co-op working there. And they came back as a full-time. So it's kind of fun when we visit, because they're like, hey, how you doing, man? I haven't seen you in a while. But very technology based. You see up there on the right-hand side, CEDS. Most of you probably never heard of CEDS. Well, everybody here has driven down 93 when they did the expansion. Remember seeing the bulldozers on the side of the road that had these big yellow globes on top of the blade? That's CEDS. That is machine and terrain grade control. So they take a CAD program and it'll hold it within a quarter of an inch. Okay, and they'll dump the program into it. They'll set up the site GPS and the technician will program and get it all done. And the operator just has to go forward and backwards and it controls the blade and it sets the grade. And it's all controlled, so it's very high tech. You know, we talked about AI, that might be something that would go in there. We also have telematics. One of our partners, Kenworth, New England Kenworth, they can go in and flag a truck that's halfway across the country. It's one of their customers. We just fixed it. We got the light out, but we want to make sure the repair held and it's still doing okay. With telematics, they'll log into it. Well, the guy's going down the road at 65 miles an hour and the driver has no idea. Yep, the code ran, the code passed, he's going this fast, use this much fuel. Yep, he's all good to go. Or check engine light comes on, or it's got a DEF code, or it's got an emissions flag, and then it sends, and Mary Beth gets a notice, still having this problem. They call, hey buddy, I got an appointment with you at the next dealership. Yeah, we know what the code is, they're gonna take care of you, so as you're going through Chicago, pull in over here and they're gonna take care of you. So they can be very proactive on the repairs. But you think about theft, right? Skid steers. Well, they have all this stuff in it. And my partner in crime that works with me, John, he spent 30 or 35 years on Long Island working for H.O. Penn. They never got torqued up or worried when somebody stole a piece of equipment. Because they would just go in. Okay, it's on 42nd Street. Let's go get it. And they'd be able to pick the GPS and they'd just go get it and deal with it that way. There's a lot of integrated technology. So being a tech and training these students, it's not just Ohm's law and how things work and how to diagnose stuff. Or how to take things apart, put things back together, but you gotta be a little bit innovative, you gotta be a little bit of an IT guy, you gotta be able to program. You gotta be able to read schematics, both electric and hydraulic. And there's a lot to it. Usually when the students come in, there's always those 1 or 2 students that it's all about the 3/4 ton diesel rolling coal. And when they graduate, they have a whole different perspective on what this field is. So. The over-the-road field is pretty much anything with a license plate, right? It's gonna be your class 6, 7, and 8 trucks. The off-road heavy equipment is everything else without a license plate. Like, if you think about it this way, the cog railway is technically off-road heavy equipment. I mean, it's a train, it goes up the side of a mountain, right? Shipping, cargo. I've got friends that he's a engineer shipmate, and he works on ocean-going vessels with pistons that are 3 feet in diameter. I mean, huge stuff. That's where they can go with this. Or I've got 3 students right now, 3 that are working at Milton Rents in Gorham. 2 are full-time and 1's doing her co-op. Okay? They can go anywhere they want with that. Milton Cat has a dozen dealerships. If they decide, you know what, I think I'm gonna go to Buffalo, New York, and that's where I wanna live for a while, they can transfer and go work out there and still have a good job. This year, my students that went to work in the field were averaging between $25 and $32 an hour starting pay. And in our field, the way it works, after 90 days, keeping you, there's a training program. And as you do that training program, within a couple of years, they can easily be in the upper 40s. You know, making a really good living, they may time and a half after 40. If the work is there, if they want to do it, they can do it, so. Here there are a lot of options. With the amount of people I have on my advisory board, I really wish I could give everybody 5 technicians. But I can't, and not everybody wants to work in Southern New Hampshire, not everybody wants to work in Northern New Hampshire. Most of my students come from south of the Notch. I have had a few that decided to stay up here. I had one that did his internship at TMS Diesel. Worked there for 3 years, moved up here, and now he is working for Milton Rents. So. And here's an example of what one of my classrooms will look like during our engine class. We get right into it and tear everything apart, measure, inspect, find points of failure, a lot of precision measurement to understand the geometry of what goes on in an engine, why they are so powerful, why they can be so efficient. As electric vehicles come into it, right, that is part of this industry. When they need that component, we will add in an electrical class, okay? I mean, CAT has the D7EX, which is an diesel electric bulldozer. Okay, removes the traditional drivetrain, just runs on electric motors. So that is coming down the line. However, what I've heard this year from industry partners, mostly from CAT, Cummins, and Printoff, the groomer company, is electricity is not worth it. They are spending a lot of time and money in hydrogen. Currently, Printoff has a groomer in Italy that is running a Mercedes diesel engine that's running on hydrogen gas. And they are having phenomenal success with it because the only emissions are heat and water. Right? And they're getting just much power and reliability. Same core engine, different fuel system. And they're having a lot of success with that. So where we're gonna go with it, I don't know yet. But when the industry partners say, hey, we need them to know this, or we need them to be certified in this, we will definitely add it to the program to stay current. Any questions?
Good stuff. Thank you.
Mike?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
Annette?
Or that,
Either way,
Yeah,
yeah.
just switch it over.
Thank you.
to-
Thank you.
Yeah, people want immediate program information about diesel welding. The diesel, there's a certificate, two semesters, or the 2-year program. I have those up there. Welding and then medical assistant. I also have my card up there. I know you know that, but if you want to talk to me or get a hold of me, if there's anything I can do, feel free to reach out. Here's our online people.
There, okay. Great, thank you, everybody, for coming in and presenting today.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
I can maybe don't. Pull up the IT, I take it outside of the show. Thank you.
So our next agenda item, and thank you, Sarah, and on the whole team for presenting. That was really good information. I feel like you know this community college a lot better now. So we're going to switch gears, but before we do, I wanted to welcome Erin Talcott and ask her just to introduce herself really quick. She is our newest member. She's with the Boys and Girls Club of North Country, and hopefully she's still with us.
Yes, hi everyone.
Hey.
Hi, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, and I'm having video cameras, so I apologize. I'm Erin Talcott. I'm the Development Associate for the Boys and Girls Club of the North Country. I was very excited to join because, of course, childcare is a crisis up here in Northern New Hampshire and overlaps with so much of the work that's happening. And we're, of course, going to be at White Mountain Community College in the near future and having their early child care students working with our club kids. So very excited to be here. Thank you so much for that informative presentation. And if anyone has any childcare related questions, feel free to please reach out. And again, thanks so much.
Thank you, Erin. That's great. All right, so we are going to look through, so for those of you who may not have been in the January meeting or familiar with the discussion after our 5-year CEDS plan was adopted, there was some interest in seeing a larger concentration or larger emphasis, I should say, on industry and commercial sector in our industry here in the country, in the region. So Kayla, my predecessor, had developed what they called an industrial supplement. So it basically went through the types of jobs that are in the region, mostly commercial and industrial, and what the where the employment was at, so we could start to see where we were missing some gaps. And the big ones were in manufacturing and industry. So kind of, and when we say that, that's general, like the skills that you're teaching them are going to actually help those industries. So I took the liberty of taking, this supplement was approved by the CEDS members in January, but not inserted into the CEDS plan. So the large document that you have, some of you have in front of you, and if you don't have one, if you could just sign up to someone who does, I don't. Oh, Joe, did you?
I share.
Oh, you did, okay. Apologies, it's really big, and I figured we would be close together, and if you don't feel comfortable doing that, I totally understand. So I wanted to make sure this was officially incorporated, not an appendix, because I do believe, I come from, I've heard this so many times, some of you may have as well. I totally geek out on manufacturing. I don't know why, but I think it is the greatest thing in the world. So I was very excited about incorporating this deeper into the sense. The focus here, if you didn't get my email and have a chance to look at that, is on pages 39 to 44. So this should look very similar to what you've seen. I twisted it around a little bit, but the language and the data has not been twisted. So basically what it does is go through, some of the history of industry, primarily in manufacturing, and then it talks about the industry changes for Carroll, COAS, and Grafton, respectively. So we talk about the top 5 industries of employees. So for example, in Carroll on page 40, we talk about education, healthcare, and social assistance being the top industry in the region. And then second, arts and entertainment, accommodations and food services, then retail trade, then construction, then manufacturing. So we have, there's a good mix here, and these probably sound pretty familiar to many of you if you were in Carroll or if you went to COAS. They're really not that much different. It's maybe just the order of all of them. So really the top ones, and I think the only other one that made it to the top in COAS that wasn't here. Nope, it's all the same. It's just a little bit twisted. So education, healthcare, and social assistance, then construction. So that hopefully that helps for our teachers here today. Then manufacturing, also helpful, then retail trade, which is really more our downtowns, it's our small stores, it's our small businesses in general that sell storefront type of materials, so coffee, people who sell knickknacks, stuff like that. And then arts, entertainment, and accommodations. So those are our big 5 industries, and we take these in a variety of different ways. I use this data regularly to promote outwardly to make sure that these are kept on the top of people's radars, but also, so for example, Taylor and I are working on a brain drain presentation for August. It'll be an online presentation, and we're using these industries as examples of places where we're seeing brain drain, where we're seeing, unfortunately, people are not going into these industries, and why not? Anyway, I wanted to highlight that as the first big change, is basically 39 to 44. And then page 57 is the next big change, and that was really just wording to one of the goals, one of the strategies in the goals, and I believe it was goal 4, to provide support for business development and innovation that supports workforce training, opportunity, livable wage, and work-life balance. So I modified it just a little bit to talk about resilient infrastructure, which is one of the big things that comes up in that chapter that we just inserted as one of the challenges associated with these industries. We need the infrastructure, not just the buildings where they are, but the roadways getting to it, the water, the sewer, everything else that supports those industries. And then broadband, yeah, that's it. So there's really not a big change there, but the bigger change, and again, to accommodate that conversation that we're starting in that chapter, is a new goal 8. Sorry, I want to stay on the same page here. Retain and attract manufacturing and other skilled trades that provide good jobs with year-round employment, livable wages, and advancement opportunities for this generation and beyond. Glenn looked this over for me and made sure that. And then 3 strategies. So retaining our next generation workforce, engaging them in the potential for employment and advancement, increasing the technology knowledge base of our current and future workforce. And we talked about that a little bit here, right? A lot of these degrees have the technology, what Annette's working on for workforce development, making sure we're upskilling people. And then encouraging the monitoring of potentially available industrial properties. And thanks again for that addition, and that's things like LoopNet, talking with our real estate agents, going deeper and working with the state. Like there's lots of opportunity here. So on the right hand side, you'll see in the middle 2 types of community capital. That's really where we're trying to look at a systems thinking process, and where we're not just looking at these in an isolated situation, like how are they part of our capital for our communities. And then the cross-cutting themes, which is further in the document if you want to look at those 2. And then some specific actions. So instead of it being a strategy, it's like, how do we really implement that? What does it look like on the ground? Who are our partners that we can use to implement that? So those are the new pieces. What we're proposing, and I did talk to EDA about this, is that this now, unless we have any questions or you have comments both online and in the room, is to send this out for 30-day comment, which is actually required for our previous CEDS. So since it is an amendment, it's not just an appendix, it would have to go out for 30 days, and then it would come back to this group in August for approval. And again, you would hear all the comments. If there are any from the public, they usually send them in writing, or they can send them, we could talk on the phone and I can document it. But that 30 days, and we'll put that in the paper, and we'll put it online and put it on the website. And then this group would hopefully adopt it or vote to approve it, I should say. And then it'll go to the North Country Council Board of Directors. So that's exactly the same process. It should be on the second page, so you can see this process that we take to adopt, which is, again, is prescriptive. It's part of the last 50 years of us doing. All economic development districts have to go through the same process to adopt the CEDS.
Right, and because we're doing an amendment out of cycle,
Yes,
it's got to follow the traditional update process, which is why the 30-day comment period and so forth, so.
yeah, it's funny, it hasn't, you said you have never experienced one. I talked to my peers, I've worked for 3 economic development districts now, we've never had an amendment, so this is kind of fun. We can guide our peers through this if need be. But we do believe strongly in it, again, it could have just been an appendix, but because it's a really important piece of the North Country, we did feel like it needed to be its own chapter.
And it really came about, and as Angie said, it started with Kayla, and Kayla put a lot of that piece of it together before she left. And it was a result of some concerns and comments by a couple of our CEDS members that we weren't paying enough attention to that particular part of the CEDS. And so I think it's a really good addition and
Could
amendment.
you restate what part of the SEDS, you can just describe that for me, what part of the SEDS, are you saying we're paying attention to?
The part right that you're on that page right there, so
Okay.
pages 39 to 44, page 57, and goal 8.
The part relating to manufacturing in particular as a segment of our economy.
And you mentioned business development, which I think is super important. Now, I'll be able to get a copy of this, right?
You can have that one, like, and I sent it by email, but I can re-email it.
Yeah, you're welcome to say that one.
Thank you.
Is it available on our website or is the old one?
The existing version is, I haven't.
But this one won't
uploaded-
be until, probably won't be until the North Country Council Board approves it.
Yeah, as a.
Unless you prefer to draft.
I was just, that's what I was gonna do, as soon
Yeah.
as this group was, kind of gave the nod to do that, I was gonna open it up for 30-day comment, but I wanted to make sure everybody was okay with this version, if you had any thoughts on changes, so, Dan, let us know if there's any change. Otherwise, we can do it for the whole month of July, so I can give you a couple more weeks too, I know, like, Bino couldn't make it today, Sheen's office unfortunately couldn't make it, so there could be some others, that might have a couple things to do. Or you could just wait for the 30-day comment period and we can come back to you, and however you'd like to do it, but we wanted to make sure we got a nod of approval from folks to open up the 30-day comment period.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
On page 57, goal 4, what do you mean by resilient in that case? Is that like resilient to failure or resilient against future proofing or like what, like?
Yep, so the EDA defines resilience as both the ability to recover, but also the ability to withstand. So it's not just about bouncing back, it's also about bouncing forward.
Strong.
And about being able to, if there is a storm, then there will be either minimal or no impact to it, so. It's both it's kind of how is it shored up, but also what are the systems in place to recover from it
But
if it's not.
Focus is on something happening, like weather related, not like resilient in the sense of all of a sudden they've got something brand new and fiber's obsolete, right? We just invested all this in fiber.
It can
like,
be that too.
Or it could be that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an event, in other words.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so how it's adjusting to change, basically.
okay.
Or adjusting and or, adapting to change.
All kinds
So
of,
that's a great point, though.
to all kinds of potential
Yeah,
changes,
all kinds of.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
natural and otherwise.
Yeah.
But that's a great point. If you have language that you think we could,
No, I was just curious.
Make sure
Anything was
that's-
highlighted here and I was like, oh, I wonder what that, if that, because I think that's one of those things that. Again, it kind of kept coming into my mind when we were hearing from our program coordinators this morning and the faculty, it's like. And this is true in academia and everywhere, like what is the role of future technology, what's coming around the corner, and so I just saw resilient, was wondering if that's what that was meant to imply. Resilience against, in other words, being forward looking when we build or invest in the infrastructure so that it's. However many steps away from obsolescence, I think there's a term for that, right? Like if you're future proofing, I don't know, I think there's some technical term, but. At some point, it just struck me as interesting, that's all.
yeah. I'll make sure that, I'm pretty sure there is a section on resilience in the beginning, but I'll make sure it's very clear that that's also.
I wasn't calling
It is
for work.
It's not a lot, it's
I
really
was
not,
just curious.
and I do find it to be
It-
incredibly important.
It might very well already say something to that effect.
Yeah,
but
I'll check it.
Check it.
Yep. Yeah, EDA has had I mean, they don't wanna redo things twice, right? Like, they're gonna invest major funding from EDA to do something, they wanna do it right, so. But I think being clear on that is really important. Thank you for that. Any other comments online, thoughts on being okay with the 30-day period, or do you want a couple of weeks to take a look at it first, and then we can do like a July 1st?
Well, if you did open, I mean, if the group is okay with opening it up for 30 days.
Yep.
I mean, if the group has further comments, they can use that 30 days as well.
Yeah.
So,
Just do it.
I mean, that would be my recommendation.
I just, all right.
And if you want to do it by motion, maybe we can have someone make a motion. If you wish.
I always like to be official, so I would love to entertain a motion.
A motion to.
I move that we entertain a 30-day approval period,
Comment period.
comment period, thank you. For the comprehensive economic development strategy.
Specifically for the new section, I believe, right? Angie?
Yes, for the amended.
Not for the whole document, but for the amendment.
To the amended section.
There you go.
There we go.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Sure, I'll second it.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of the
Aye.
motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you so much.
Go.
It is, all right, so next on our agenda is the participant share out.
Could I ask you if we could just go back into the minutes?
Oh, I apologize, I did miss the minutes
We
again.
skipped introductions in minutes.
Yes, I did.
And I figured when we do the share out, we could do the introductions at the same time, but the minutes maybe we should.
That would be great, thank you. All right, so the minutes of April 19th, sorry, I need glasses. From our meeting at the Mount Eustis Commons are in front of you, so we need changes, thoughts, or an motion to approve. We are starting to recognize who's virtual versus in person as well, so you'll see the V's. It's more just, it's just good record keeping. So that's a new addition, that's really the only change here.
Well, you used to have to read a big long official thing when it was virtual. Did that requirement go away? I'm just curious, not trying to. Yeah, you know, like when we were all, like during the pandemic, you used to have to read a thing that by order of the governor and the council.
Well, that's
blah, blah, blah,
that
we're
was
authorized to-
right. Well, that was when the governor's order was in effect. But after the pandemic, that order went away.
Okay,
So we now are technically functioning under traditional 91A rules, which does allow for remote participation. Technically, because we have remote people, when we do votes, we should be doing roll call. You know, that's how sticky we want to be about that.
Yeah.
but they kept, the online counts toward the quorum.
It does.
Okay, cool, good, good.
Well, actually, no. Actually, no. Well, there has to be a quorum in the room.
Yeah, because the 10 bigger meetings, I have to have a quorum.
Yeah.
So
we might not. actually.
Yeah. we don't have that.
So maybe we shouldn't be voting on the minutes.
Yeah, I actually.
Maybe we should table those.
Yeah, I think we should do it.
Does that mess up the thing we just did with the comment period? Because that's kind of advisory.
It's more advisory,
Yeah.
minutes would be something that's part of our record, so I would. Actually hope that, because you're right, we don't have a quorum.
It might be worth like publicizing that to the group somehow, like, look, you gotta show up for us to do certain kind, you know what I mean, as we talk about.
Yeah,
meetings,
should.
you know, like I didn't know that, in other words, and so
Yeah.
it was like the kind of thing where I would be like, oh, I don't need to go, but maybe if you need us to come
Yep.
for this kind of stuff, it'd be good to.
To your point, we're gonna emphasize that for our August meeting, or else we can't approve the
Yeah.
new sets, so thank you for that, I appreciate it.
Yes.
Great
What
reminder.
number is it for?
We have 13 members, so 7, yeah, it's gonna be at least half, yep, half plus, so 51.
50% plus one.
50%, so 7. Yep. So we'll make sure 7 people are,
Well,
7 numbers.
Well, and that normally isn't a problem. I mean.
It's not, it's.
I mean,
yeah.
typically. We haven't had huge groups, but we've had, you know, reasonable groups, certainly 7 or more,
Yeah.
easily.
Mhm.
This is an unusual situation today, so,
Yeah, we had quite a few emergencies.
well, it happens.
Yeah, that's.
Also, it's also the start of summertime and, you know, stuff.
Yes.
And
All right, but I do appreciate the introduction, so I would love to, because I haven't met you yet, so apologies, and it would be great if, yeah, we all heard the president, so, but just in case, so he knows who everybody is in the room as well. But, so we all know Annette.
Yes, workforce development, White Mountains Community College.
And I'm Amy Bass, and I'm the director for the Small Business Administration. We're based out of Concord, but we cover the whole state.
And I'm Ben Amston, I'm the initiative lead for impact investing in basic needs at the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melanie Robbins. I'm the director of the Littleton Academic Center for campus in Littleton. And was the interim president here for the last 8 months until.
oh, you were.
That's all coming together.
Okay.
Some of mine, president of like Manchester Community College,
On his first week.
for this week.
Welcome to you.
And I'm Dan Whitted. The Berlin City Council appointed myself, Cassie Mason, to replace Tom McHugh and Peter Higby as representatives of North Country Council. I work 100% remotely as a sustainability consultant here in Berlin. And my work takes me all over the East Coast.
Oh, okay.
Very good. I'm Glenn Koppelman. I work with Angie at North Country Council on a very part-time basis, but still hanging around. They can't get rid of me.
True, we love it. Angela Cleveland, program coordinator at North Country Council.
Taylor Roy, I'm a planning assistant at North Country Council.
And online, let's see, Erin, we met Erin from Boys and Girls Club, our new member. Thank you for joining us today. And then Jason, our second newest member. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Jason Akamuti. Live in the West Lebanon Upper Valley area, and I'm a commercial lender at Woodsville Guaranteed Savings Bank.
So glad you could join us today. And is that Tim?
Hi there, I'm Tim Josephson from Upper Valley Lake Sunapee Regional Planning Commission. A planner here, do economic development stuff down all the way down here in Grafton County.
All the way down.
All the way there.
Great, thank you for joining us, Tim. All right,
Oh, we got one more, I think.
nope, that's in it.
Oh,
The room
somewhere
and me,
in the lower right.
that's me.
That's her.
That's you?
That's me.
Okay, all right.
I had to log on because it was my Zoom meeting, so. And now I can see everybody too, so. All right, so.
It's a different book.
I know we're maybe not there. All right, so participant share out. I have one thing before we start, and I'll pass this around as well. So we are updating our regional plan, which is something that all the 9 regional planning agencies or councils in the state are required to do as part of state statute. We received some funding through HUD to do this, which we're really excited about. It's going to be a quick and dirty one this year. It hasn't been done in not quite 10 years yet, but the last time it was done was a rather big endeavor, and it was a big overhaul. So I wouldn't say this is an update per se, but it is, you know, it's going to be a little quicker than our normal regional plan. As part of this, we're doing both a survey, and then if you go on that website, it's a QR code. If you just go to our regular website as well, you'll get to that. But the QR code, apologies, folks. I'll send you the link in the chat. the QR code leads you to two different surveys, one which is a like an ARC one, or survey 123 survey, and the other is a mapping exercise that we can visually see where our assets and challenges are in the region. So both of them are very fun to take. I've taken them because I am a resident as well as an employee. And I always like to take our surveys, so we hope that you can both promote that through your circles as well as have you take the survey, because we do believe that businesses are also our key partners, our partners and the residents.
And
So,
they're right on our homepage, so if you just go to northcountrycouncil.org.
yep, and that's what I'm in the chat right now.
Yeah, then there's two, right at the top, you scroll down a little bit, it'll say take this survey, and they're both right there.
Yep. And those will be up until August, so we'll also be doing 5 in-person events.
Yeah.
Yeah, one, it will, we'll be back here next week on Tuesday at Heritage Park for the,
Wednesday, Tuesday's Conway, Wednesday's.
right, I apologize, yeah, Tuesday's Conway, Wednesday's Berlin. To promote the regional plan, get feedback. We'll have a little booth where people can record their memories of the region and, you know, what they've been doing over the years, whether they're a visitor and or a resident. And we'll have a Jenga game that Taylor made up, so if you have a chance, or if you're in Conway or Berlin next week, we'll be there. We'll also be in Warren for Old Home Days, I believe it is, and then the Moose Festival up in Lincoln.
And then also National Night Out, the
That's right.
one, it's multiple towns now, Plymouth, Thornton, Campton.
Yep.
Waterville Valley,
Yeah, Hampton, yeah, you said them all.
Wilderness. Wilderness, maybe, I don't know, they added some towns, it used to be
Yeah.
Campton, Thornton, Waterville Valley, now it's more, but.
You're totally on the road.
Yes, yeah, well, luckily the two of us aren't the only folks that are doing that, but there will be quite a few of us. But we do intend to try to be as, you know, geographically dispersed as possible. Our region's so big, so it's easy to get lost in the shuffle, so getting around is our key importance. But again, we'd love for you to promote it at the college if you can, if there's a way for us to promote, work with you on that, to get the residents and the students involved, that'd be awesome. That's all, but did you have anything that you wanted to? Okay.
Share up?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm putting on my different hat now, COAS Economic Development Corp. And I'm doing this on behalf of our executive director, Erica, who asked me to do this, and because she couldn't be here with us today or online. But this, and the acronym for the group is CEDS. And it held its first in-person annual meeting in many years. It was on the 13th at the Mountain View Grand. We had originally capped attendance at somewhere between 130 and 140, and the registrations kept coming in, and so we had to keep expanding, and it ended up being somewhere between 150 and 160 folks. Drew a lot of folks from around the state and the region. Angie was there. It's a really nice event. Oh, Amy was there. You know.
Was there, and that was there too. She was at our table.
Oh. I don't. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Anyway, it was a very nice event. But I think Erica wanted me to mention that and it's the first of what will be an annual awarding of BLOC, another acronym. Oh my God. Block Awards. It stands for Business Leaders of COAS. And the award itself is a block of wood that's engraved. It's on a wooden pedestal. So it kind of it's a theme that all ties together. But there were 5 awards, one for outstanding startup, one for young entrepreneur, one for agriculture, one for veteran-owned business, and one for woman-owned business. And there was a nice story that just came out in New Hampshire Business Review, I believe.
Oh, I saw that. That was
Which has some pictures and it has a nice write-up on it. So if you wanted to read about it, you could read it there. But, so just wanted to pass that along, and it really was nice.
Thank you, Colin.
Great.
And
What am I talking about?
anything you want to about what you do or who you represent, or it's time for us to share out. So we talk about what others in the group might want to know.
I'm very involved in a number of committees here in Harlem. Planning board, I was on the master plan. The one that we're very excited about is called AVEC, Interscope Valley Energy Collaborative, where we've now been adopted as a part of a subcommittee of the planning board. And the idea was, when we developed the master plan, most communities are limited in staff. And so when we say we really need to do this or that, it's hard for staff in cities or towns to have the expertise or to develop new initiatives. So there were a number of people, myself included, Henry Noel, who's a state rep, people from Brookfield Renewables, people from the Burgess Power Plant, and we developed an energy committee to look at both bring community power to the area and to develop expertise. We're still working on our title, purpose, and scope, but one of the things that we looked at was the co-op loop, and to bring less expensive power to the area with hopes of bringing new business. And in fact, in terms of education, there's a lot to be learned about how power systems work and how utilities work. And so I'm here to say that there is now an energy committee, and although it's associated with the Berlin Planning Board, it also has representatives from all of the surrounding communities as ongoing.
Great.
I've already said my piece. I think.
I just want to give you a chance to.
We just had, you heard from some of our faculty, we have a great number of programs here that are designed to ensure that students get what they need and join the workforce, equipped, skillful, and educated. And we are going to be looking at more programs, and hopefully we're going to be growing our offerings to ensure that we have what the area needs to ensure that the people stay here and have more local economy.
Welcome again.
Thank you.
Which I'll double down actually on both of your comments, is we are looking to create, and we have created a power generation technician program. We're hoping it can launch in the fall. If not, we're looking to the spring semester. And those would be technicians to to learn how to fix a diesel engine or a water power engine, anything that produces energy and power generation. And so that would be coming along.
Would that, I'm sorry, would that include like solar generation?
It will, anything that
Okay.
requires to build.
So that's good. We talked about that. I said, let's see, what Vermont Community College develop. And we have people in AVEC who are very interested in working with you on that.
So that.
I'll give you my card.
A great combination. We are looking to hold that out of the Littleton Center. We just finished up last fall in the completion of the Advanced Technology Building that Mark spoke about, where this program is held. And that is on Union Street in Littleton.
That's the new addition.
It is we just finished up that new building behind our main campus. We purchased that building 2 years ago and then took on the construction project for an advanced technology building. So that's what we're looking to do.
That's awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool. A couple things. We have our community grants program that operates every year, opens on July 15th, and that is back being a multi-year program. This year, the big change is that there is an unrestricted operating support track and a project track for organizations that may, for whatever reason, not want unrestricted funding. The other big change is something we've been working on for the past year or so in regards to our strategic plan has called for us to focus our energies a little bit different. So instead of being sort of regionally organized, we're now organized around sort of 5 core initiative areas that allow us to kind of zero in on what our strategic plan wants us to do. And those are SUD and behavioral health. The other initiative area is career development and workforce supports. We have early childhood education, the environment, and then mine, which is basic needs, mostly defined as food insecurity and housing. So for other types of organizations, we do have new staff coming on board that are going to sort of serve in a program capacity to help them find opportunities for funding, because we obviously still are a community foundation and have to look at everything, but we're excited to be sort of renewing the focus on those core initiative areas. My other piece is impact investing, which we're also looking to sort of grow the pipeline for going forward. We've been active in that for many, many years, but kind of have an opportunity in front of us to look at new opportunities to invest resources in organizations that are doing good things. And so we shall go from there with some new staff coming on that we're excited about, some new programs and some new organization for ourselves. So it's all on the website. If you want to dig around, if you know nonprofits that are interested in that, you can always send them our way. So
Normally, Miguel attends these meetings, but I'm always happy to fill in because I have a long history of sitting in with these and it's good to see everybody up here.
Yes, you do.
So on staffing, we've had a couple of folks move on, one retired and one moved on to a new SBA position. So doing some hiring, we're gonna be onboarding another Miguel like person. We do cover the entire state. We've divvied it up by county. So we are really excited about bringing on somebody who can help our expand our bandwidth to do that marketing and outreach that we do. And then my deputy moved on, Rachel Roderick, for those of you who knew her, moved on to another SBA department. So I have a posting out right now. You can come work with me. So if you know anybody, let me know. So that's very exciting. We're at full staff. We're a team of 7 covering the whole state. And a lot of what we do is outreach, but I try to make sure we're very mindful about getting out of Southern New Hampshire. There are tons of folks we can work with down there, businesses and partners alike. But if you know of communities that we should be in, where there's perhaps economic development staff at the local level, or town leaders or city leaders that we should be connecting with so that our program information is getting out to local businesses, please let us know. We're looking for those opportunities at any point in time. We love getting out on the road and standing up events or just partnering with folks so that we can help get not only our program information out, but any other that might be beneficial to small businesses.
I'd like to say on behalf of this group, over the years, I mean, we really appreciated the fact that you and your colleagues have supported this group and you've made the effort to come up here for the meetings, and it means a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. We love to do it.
So we focused a lot on industry today, but one of the new initiatives that I started just kind of listening in on is an innovation grant that one of our partners reached for and was awarded, and it's for LNAs, and it is sort of a new structure to employment for LNAs. And so the reason why we were invited to the table was to become potentially the trainer for the LNAs that will go through these cohorts. And what it is the intention is, if you think of gig economy and how a lot of folks are not interested necessarily anymore or not drawn to benefits or specific schedules or being committed to one employer, but have those job skills and credentials to work in any setting, and LNA could fit into that very easily. We also have some local factors here, such as the corrections facilities that are understaffed, and a lot of the employees there are working double shifts. So if there are partners and they have children, a lot of times, you know, if you have LNAs that maybe have young children, they're not able to take on those full-time positions, but are willing to pick up shifts. So the goal of the initiative is to set an app. It's going to be potentially through Androscoggin Valley healthcare providers, but it is still a little bit uncertain how that will look, but there will be different kind of a ladder of skills. So they might specialize in acute care or long-term care. But what they would do is just go in and select a shift. And it is happening all over the country, but the pilot is specifically for the greater Berlin-Gorham area, and to try to fill in some of those voids. And, you know, realizing that it is a little bit of a different generation in terms of what they value, and, you know, providing an incentive or great benefits isn't always what brings them to the job. So offering that flexibility and ability to maybe pick up a shift at the last minute, and it will help the employers in the area, hopefully help fill some of those positions. What we were hearing a lot from the employers is just the expense of travelers. They're paying, we were told, up to 150% more for travelers to come in. And that includes, you know, obviously RNs and OT and PT and LNAs. So, so we're excited to kind of just be a part of this and be listening in and figuring out how we can help support training some of these people that are going to go through with this initial cohort. And it's very exciting, it's very innovative. And I think it speaks to not just, you know, a younger generation, but I think other people who may be looking at, you know, wanting to sunset and maybe just pick up part-time or just a variety, extra hours, but it will not be an employment agency. It will be operated through an LNA advisory council that they will, that's part of the plan, is that they will form that so that none of the employers will have to worry about, you know, did that LNA pick up, you know, 40 hours already and not have to pay them overtime. They would be onboarded by each of the employers so that they're brought up to speed with the culture and the expectations and the trainings. But they would then choose to be in that pool of people and then select the shifts on their own. So it's still forming, but it's very exciting. At the core of it, we need trained professionals to be able to do it, and that's where we fit into this. So that's kind of been building up over the last few months, and we've been at the table just kind of listening in to hear what the needs are, and it looks like they're moving forward with it. So it's very exciting. So just wanted to bring that up because we did focus so much more on industry today, but healthcare is certainly one of the industries that we need to look at as well and trying to fill that pipeline as well.
Thank you. If there's anything that we can share out on that too, Matt, feel free to send it along, because we love including that kind of stuff in our newsletters, so that would be of interest to our members. The last thing I forgot to mention in my share out, yeah, sure. I just wanted to, before I forgot to do this one. There's a piece of paper that I included in your packets on NATO that says on the top, this is the first time in 20 years that the Congress is going to be basically reauthorizing the Economic Development Administration, which I'm not sure why it's taken so long. I'll have to dig into that. But we're asking everyone, if you have your druthers to do this. This is the funding that both supports us as an economic development district, but also projects throughout the state and the country. So if you've heard anything about the tech labs that are down in Manchester right now, the tech club that was funded through EDA. So lots of really good stuff that happens through this organization, this administration, and we're hoping that that authorization does come through. Shaheen's office, Senator Shaheen's office, has assured us that they are working very closely on this as on behalf of the state, not just for our region. So we're very assured to hear that they're already working on this. But if you have any opportunities to encourage our Senate to approve that bill, and then it'll go to the House after that, that would be awesome. And apologies, I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget that. Jason, do you want to do a share out next?
Sure. I had a couple of quick things. I would just on a positive side. There's I had shared on, Angie helped me just make some connections on a West Lebanon Hanover Greenway, which in this area would be a really, huge benefit just to connect those two. There's kind of shops and shopping in sort of West Leb and other things, and we have Dartmouth in Hanover. It's kind of a dangerous Route 10 corridor, but there's really good, kind of progress and coordination, and everybody needs to coordinate, I think, to try to get something like that to happen. So that's encouraging. And if anybody knows of other, contacts, I mean, it requires DOT and all kinds of stuff that's above sort of my level, but that's a kind of a nice, encouraging thing, I think, that hopefully will continue to progress. More, I think, just from a sort of banking, and I'm not, an economist at all, but I mean, I did just read an article recently, and this was national, sort of not locally, and we tend to, trail, but, economists can say all kinds of things, but there was, one thing looking like nationally commercial real estate and sort of non-performing loan, like trends, and correlating that with recession, so it's a little sobering, I think, to look at that and kind of keep that in mind, like as we go through, different cycles. We haven't had we had COVID, which is a little bit of an anomaly, I would say, but if a down cycle, comes, that we were able to support them, and, that type of thing. Then the other thing that I would just, I guess, share, and this is maybe way upstream from kind of the core of maybe this committee and economic development, but for me, as sort of a father of three, it's pretty significant, and my kids range from 20 to almost 16. but I don't know how much you're sort of tracking social media and Jonathan Hyder, Anxious Generation, or phone-free schools and that type of thing, and mental health, some of those connections. But I've, kind of lived that just because we were sort of the first, generation with that. I've seen it with my own kids, and then sort of tried to sort of hold the line in that. But I do think that there's really some positive movement, in trying to get back to a play-based childhood, and trying to really limit phones in schools and social media, and just sort of, I think it's really significant and needed, and even, from a labor, again, it's way upstream, I guess, from, jobs now, but I do think it sort of impacts that. So I don't know that there's anything sort of this committee could do to sort of support that or that type of thing, but I guess from my perspective, I'm encouraged to hear some significant movement potentially in that direction.
Thanks, Jason. Tim, you're next on my screen, so.
It's all good. Yeah, so, just as far as what we're doing, we're finding that in our work with towns on their master plans, because we provide master plan services, helping any range of a tiny bit to write the whole thing. A lot of them are asking about economic development and how can they kind of reinvigorate economic development in their small towns. So we're starting to get working with them on that. Obviously pointing them to the existing CEDS here, and then the CEDS we have in Sullivan County. That helps a lot. So that's just one thing that's been on our radar as well. And as always, we're just keeping tabs on housing developments, because for us down here, at least, I mean, we're in the same boat, housing. We have some larger developments that are on track, but they're still working their way through the process. So, us as planners here, we're hopeful that they are going to go through in some of these towns to alleviate some housing, although they're not very popular necessarily in all the towns that they're going to. So we shall see. So that's kind of what we've been up to.
Thanks, Tim. And Erin.
Thanks. So one of my priorities over this summer and upcoming fall is really we're trying to get as many community members and partners into our club in Lisbon, just to see our space, hear updates of the work we're doing, vision of where we're going. I've met so many people in the community that don't even know there is a Boys and Girls Club up here. And so really just trying to increase the knowledge around why it's so important and critical that we have affordable, high quality childcare in the community. We're the workforce behind the workforce. And so without high quality childcare, people can't work. And so I invite everyone here, if you want to come to the club ever, please, I'll put my email in the chat, but please feel free to reach out if you or anyone else want to stop by. We would absolutely love to have you. And again, we're really starting to think about, what does our club look like in terms of early childcare? How can we support this really critical need in northern New Hampshire? And so again, just really willing to talk with and think through and brainstorm some ideas as we try to figure out this childcare crisis all together.
I know quite a few parents who are sending their kids this summer to your camp, so thank you for offering that. It sounds like an awesome time.
Yeah, my daughter just started this past week. She just turned 5, so I was very happy she was old enough to be able to go.
That's great. Great. All right, I am hoping that my computer doesn't die. So for this last item here, and I want to share my screen really quick before we wrap up. And apologies for this going over a little bit, and thank you for bearing with us. So we asked members to give us some feedback, and many of you saw this, I would think. If it doesn't, then oh boy. Yeah, it's not coming up. It's thinking, so it may die on me, but we asked members to give us some feedback on the dates and times that they are available so that we can find a good time. And we haven't done this in several years, it sounds like, so better time than with new members.